Hello and welcome to On a Mission, the show where we share inspiring conversations with phenomenal women who are creating success and prosperity in their lives with purpose and passion. I'm Pauline Rohdich, a success mindset coach and clinical hypnotherapist, and I'm on a personal mission to remind you that you are a beautiful soul and you have so much potential. And my intention for this show is to give you the nudge to answer your own calling and to rise up and take on your life's mission. Hello, Linda. It's great to have you on this show and this episode of On a Mission. So everybody, thank you for being here. It's my great pleasure to introduce a lady to you who has become a friend. She's a pretty amazing lady and her name is Linda Minto. And she's going to share with us her passion for what she does. She's an amazing woman who's been through a wonderful journey, painful at times, but she's going to share her journey as to how she's arrived at where she is today. So Linda has a business called Words That Care. Linda, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to sharing with our listeners your journey, because I know a lot of people are interested and where it all began. So do you want to go back, I suppose, really to what caused you ultimately to be doing what you're currently doing, the Words That Care, that has been really quite hugely successful for you and is growing, and you're adding products, etc. So for the purpose of giving your backstory, how did this all begin?
Well, I suppose if I go back to the beginning of my work life, my career life, I was a very focused, driven career woman, all the way through the corporate world that I worked in. I worked phenomenally hard, long hours, even with two small children. And when I had my third child, Ryan, I remember being on maternity leave and being asked to break my maternity leave, basically to head over to the Bank of Scotland in Edinburgh, because they had set up one of the first online mortgage call centres in the world. And I was asked to fly over to them and emulate it and bring it back. And I was so happy to do that. I was so happy to get out of the house and get back into, the throttle of things. And so I went off, I had a great day, came back, loads of plans, ideas of how to implement this. And not too long after coming back, we woke up one morning and Ryan had died in his sleep. And obviously our worlds turned upside down and inside out. And I was thinking about this last night because, I don't share this story an awful lot. And sometimes you don't have the right words to say it to people. But I remember things like coming home one time and going to turn on the kettle and not being able to turn on the kettle. It was only a button, but I couldn't figure out how to turn it on. And I remember saying to my husband, "Can you turn the kettle on, please? I can't do it." And he went over and he couldn't figure out how to do it. It was one button. But that's the rawness, that's the madness part of the grief.
If I can just pause for a second, Linda, I know a little bit about that story, and I knew you were going to share it, but even when you said it there, I have to tell you, my God, it just stopped me in my tracks. I mean, I really felt I was holding my breath because, I mean, I think every mother's parent's worst nightmare.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was caught at, wasn't it?
It was caught at, yeah.
So how old was he at the time?
He was 9.5 weeks old.
9.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's also the anniversary of his passing, isn't it? Very soon.
The 18th of April. He would have been 25. No, well, his birthday would have been the 18th of April. He would have been 25, and then he died the night of my birthday.
Remind us when that is again.
June, the middle of June.
So the anniversary of his passing is actually in June, the night of your birthday. So, I mean, really, I don't know how anybody would really cope. I, as a mother of only one child, it was actually my biggest fear. And I was late becoming a mother. I was 41. And I remember always thinking,
Like, I didn't even trust the monitor. I had the monitor and I didn't trust it. And I often used to say that Finn didn't sleep, but Finn didn't sleep because I was looking down to see was he alive. You know, it's a dreadful and it's an awful thing to experience.
Yeah.
But so it's understandable how something as simple as the kettle was, you know, escaping your ability.
Yeah.
Because obviously you were just, I mean, most people would call it post-traumatic stress
That's
disorder really today.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been traumatic. So how did you actually cope with it at the time, Linda?
Do you know what? I suppose if you haven't gone through it, you can't imagine it, and you shouldn't imagine it. But it's like everything else. Like, we had 2 other children. We had to keep going on. And we still had bills to pay. We still had all the normal things that just didn't seem normal anymore. We still had to do all that. It was extremely hard. And I remember you know what, I have not shared this story, I think maybe only with 2 people. And I think one of them might have been you over a year ago. But I would say easily for 7 years, I cried myself to sleep every single night. Just bawled. And then there's all the firsts, you know, it should have been his first birthday. It should have been the day he was starting school. And like, I remember when all my other kids were starting play school, I used, on that day, I used to bawl. And I remember the day that Ryan was to start play school, and he wasn't there to do it. And I said, if I ever have any more kids, I will never cry on all their big days. I will just be so happy about it. But anyway, for 7 years, it was dreadful. It was pure, raw grief. And something happened when Ryan would have been about 7. And, you know, this is going to sound strange to a lot of people, but it genuinely happened to me. I went to sleep one night, cried myself to sleep. And I was woken up in the middle of the night. It was like as if somebody was prodding me. And I opened my eyes, and there was a little boy standing in front of me, and he looked about 7. And I immediately knew it was him because he looked so like his dad as a little boy. And I wasn't frightened at all. I was ecstatic. I was so delighted. And he had his hand on me and he said, "Mommy, God said, I can't show you where heaven is, but I can show you where I go to sleep." And he said, "Do you want to come with me? Do you want to put me to bed tonight?" is what he said. And in my dream or whatever was happening, I went with him. And I'll never forget the room. The best way to describe it is like if we watch films and you see the bedrooms of monks or nuns, you know, they just bare, really
sparse. Yeah.
And there was a little metal bed on it, or in the room, and on the bed was a pair of Thomas the Tank Engine pajamas. And I got him ready for bed that night, and I got into the bed with him, and I smelt that child. I felt his hair, the most silky hair. I just breathed him in, and I think I just kissed him all night. And he said to me, "Mommy, you knew you would never keep me." And I did. From the time he was born, I knew I would never keep this child.
And how did that come to you? How did that awareness come to you?
Pure instinct. There was something screaming at me inside. And even when I was pregnant on him, I remember saying to my mum one day, I said, "I don't feel right." And I didn't feel sick or anything, but I don't feel like I'm going to keep this child. And she had me into the hospital within a half an hour. And I said to the doctor, "Look, I just have this feeling." And he really like poo-pooed me, you know, "You're just..." And I said, "No, this is my 3rd child. I've never, ever felt
the difference. You knew the difference.
Yeah. And I said to him, "I tell you what, if you're happy, put it in writing that this baby's going to be fine and I leave." And of course, then all the tests were done and all the tests were fine. But even I will never forget the first time I held Ryan. And it's like as if his eyes bore into my soul. And I looked at him and thought, "How long have I got you for, baby?"
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's incredible that you felt that way, Linda, you know, that you had that kind of insight. Did it make you, in those early days, were you extra diligent, or how did you behave towards them?
Well, you couldn't help be diligent with Ryan because he never stopped crying. So we were with him 24/7. He never ever stopped crying.
Okay. And was that colic or whatever, do you think?
Possibly we had him in colic medicine. We did everything that we could, but I think it was his way of just being in one of our arms for as long as he was here.
He was getting the attention when he was there. He was making his mark. And then the very fact that he passed on the night of your birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, what a poignant, you'll never be able to forget that.
No.
Not that you would, but the very fact that it is there in tandem with your own birthday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
how do you feel now, all these years later?
Oh, I miss him. But I have to say, after having that dream, I woke up the next morning and I have never felt such a sense of calm and peace enveloped me. It was incredible. And the crying stopped. Now it didn't stop. It stopped every night.
Yeah.
But obviously, like still times like Christmas Eve and his birthday and stuff, like I will shed a tear. Sometimes you don't know when it's going to come on you. But the raw pain went that night.
I know you'd found some answers maybe, or you had the connection. You felt a genuine connection. Amazing. Yeah. But I really like your perspective as well on the whole idea around children starting play school and all the various milestones, that you saw the difference, that you didn't need to cry. Perhaps, I mean, most mothers at the gates will cry. I was one of them myself, the first, But you went on then, is it one more child afterwards or two?
I had another little boy after Ryan died, and it's incredible. I just knew he was going to be fine. And ironically, when he was born, the doctors had him on every single monitor that could be. And I remember coming home and the monitor kept going off, but I knew he was okay, and I knew he was going to be okay. And I got up one night and I just took the monitor off and shoved it in a press, and because I knew, my instincts told me, no, he's fine.
Whereas you had that completely different feeling where Ryan was concerned. That's amazing. And so obviously you've had the corporate life and you've had the businesses and you've had many other successes in your life. But how long have you been actually doing this? Would you call it your passion business? I know you do, but just tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
Tell people about it and how it came about, and maybe just bridge the whole thing of Ryan and where you are now today.
Okay. So obviously I had to go back to work after Ryan died, and I never really had the same spark though. I know when I was younger, I always, if I looked in the mirror, I could always see a twinkle in my eye, and that was dimmed totally. But we had to work, we had to go on, but the passion wasn't there, the drive wasn't there. The company I was with at the time, I had been on a mission to get a directorship in that company, and ironically, after Ryan died, I was offered that and I turned it down. Because
why did you turn it down?
Because it didn't matter anymore. There was no importance to it anymore. It wasn't the real world as the world I think should be, and it was meaningless. Yeah, meaningless to give your life to something that didn't really matter. You know,
amazing. It just, everything shifted for you.
Totally.
And so obviously 25 years later, here you are doing something that you have a twinkle in your eye. It's very obvious. And I know that you have a great real desire for what you do, and there's a bigger purpose to what you do.
Yeah.
You're driven by something.
Yeah.
Help us to understand that.
Well, I suppose I should just explain before that I worked in the corporate world. I then decided for the first time in my life to take a year out. I wanted to write a book. And like, I've worked since I was 14 part-time, and I have a really good, strong work ethic. But I decided to take a year out to write a book. First time I've never worked, as in, that I took time out for myself. And I was in my element, and my husband was self-employed. And so I think about it, I think I got 8 months maybe out that year, and then Liam fell off a roof and broke his back. And all of a sudden, we weren't just without one income, we were without two good incomes. And I would say from the year I hit 40 to the year I hit 50, I'd say they were probably 10 of the worst years of my life, because everything crashed. I've never known being broke, and I've never known broken except for when Ryan died. Certainly I was broken. But this was on a different level altogether. You know, we had all the nice things. We had the nice house in a nice area beside the sea. We had a beautiful apartment in Portugal. We had a house down the country. And we had all of that, and we'd worked really, really hard for all of that. And we lost everything. Those 10 years, I will never forget them. I will never forget the way the banks handled the situation, the way other people looking for money, and we've never defaulted in any payments in our lives. And people screaming and at me, not at Liam, because he was lying in a bed with a broken back, screaming at me for money. I've never, it was horrendous. And you know what, I'm a resilient woman, and every time I was on the ground, I tried to get back up again. And every time I kind of had got up on my hunkers, bang, something else had happened. And I've never known the likes of it. I genuinely have never known the likes of it. And one day, about, what year was it? Probably about 4 years ago, I met an old friend who I hadn't seen in a long time for a coffee. And I was on my knees. I was broken. And I actually didn't see a way out. I did not see a way out. And to be quite honest, I don't know that I wanted to live anymore. I really don't. And I think he went into total shock when he saw me and saw the state I was in, because I was always the go-getter. And he said to me while we were having coffee, "Linda, you write marvelous words for people. You need to do something with this." And I was like, no, who'd want them? And he goes, "Linda," he said, "those words, you've got to do something with them."
And where did he see the evidence of those words? Like, what were you doing?
I had
cards that you would send to people just randomly.
Yeah, I'd done a little bit, but I had never treated it as a serious business, and never thought that it could be.
Yeah.
And really, it was his belief in me. And even though he had belief in me, I still didn't have it for myself. And what this man did, and you know, he's his own business. He's a very successful businessman. He arranged that every Tuesday, once a week, every Tuesday, that after I'd finished my day job, that I would go to his office and we would sit down and we would make this business work. And, you know, for a long time, I still didn't believe it, but he just wouldn't let it go. And I think you say this quite a bit, borrow my belief in you. And I had to borrow his belief in him. And it just gradually started gaining momentum.
I just think, though, I mean, just to pause here, because I think this is just such a beautiful thing, that a friend, you know, I mean, one person had made such an impact that really saw you and, you know, caused you to really look at yourself differently and to give you hope and to encourage you and to be a light for you where you couldn't see a light or a way out. I just think, you know, it's so fantastic when we have people in our world, in our lives, just like that. Great. Yeah. It can be a stranger for somebody else who does it. Yeah. But to have somebody that really understood you, I am just, wow. I just think fantastic. What a great guy. Amazing.
Do you know what he did at our meetings? So we do all the business stuff as well, but before we'd leave them, he would tell me to close my eyes and he would do a visualization with me. Wow. And this was before I was doing visualization. And I'm only thinking of that now because obviously we do a lot of this in TIR and it's so important. But he obviously knew the importance of that.
He's obviously such a successful business person.
Yeah.
He has the secret. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, genuinely he does. And I don't know that he even knows that he does, but
yeah,
he does. And quite frankly, that man saved my life.
I can hear it. That's why I wanted to highlight that, because that is just so fantastic. What a gift to have someone like that in your life.
Yeah.
So continue. This is only 4 years ago. So it's
Yeah.
so new when you think about it, Linda. It's
Yeah.
still very new. So go on. I know you made lots of changes to bring you to where you are.
I did. Yeah. So how did we? Okay. So he asked me to write a 5-year business plan, which I did. And one of the things I had said was that within a 5-year period, I wanted to be at my first trade show, display at my first trade show. I did that within a year. There was so many other things I wrote down, and I think genuinely because I wrote them down, I was looking at them and I accelerated them all. So nearly everything I said I do within 5 years, I did within a year. So then it was time to reassess the 5-year plan again and build more things into it. And I think the more I got into it, and because I am so passionate about what I do, I love it. It's my other baby.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Ryan is involved in it, and he's the reason for it too, that it came about. But it just gives me such joy every day.
And can we join the dots for listeners that are new to you and what you do, that might not have heard about what you do? So just join the dots. Tell people what you actually do, and how Ryan is so instrumental and part of this.
So when Ryan died, the chaplain of Tapestry Children's Hospital, she used to send me the most beautiful cards with such meaningful words on them, and they just lifted me every time that they popped through the door. And 25 years later, she is still popping cards through my door. It's incredible.
Fantastic.
But I remember then, obviously, I was volunteering with the likes of the Sudden Infant Death Society and dealing with parents who had lost their own children. And I could never find the right words, the right card, the right gift to give to them, to say what I wanted to say. And so I start writing them. I start writing my own words, and then get on board to do the design, and then getting them printed. And then it was about getting them into shops. And it's absolutely crazy how quickly this has all expanded. It's crazy. It's amazing.
So can I ask you, just in terms of, one of the questions that I like to ask the guests on this show is, do you believe in a higher, I suppose, really higher intelligence? Do you feel guided by a higher intelligence?
Without a doubt. And I heard you talking, I was watching the replay on the TIR meeting last night, and I just finished it this morning. But one of the things was, so with my new ranges, I close my eyes and I create them in my mind. I can see so clearly in my mind what they're going to be like, what the words are going to be. And literally, it's like I have a little sleep, although I'm not sleeping. And then I wake up and I write it all down, and the words just flow from me. Now, that doesn't happen every day, but my God, when it does, it's
magical.
It's coming through me. It's not coming from me. It's coming through me from somewhere else.
Channeled. And would you say that Ryan is instrumental in that? 100%. I can feel it myself. You know, I know from what you're saying to me, but just for the benefit of anybody that doesn't know what TIR is, it's the Thinking into Results. That it's a coaching program that Linda's doing with me. And so she's referring to a recording that we did of a training during the week. But you remind me of one of the quotes by, some people call him Van Gogh. I grew up here calling the artist Van Gogh. A lot of people call him Van Gogh. But he talks about, I dream my painting and then I paint my dream.
That's exactly what I do.
I mean, I love quotes, and I love very meaningful quotes, and I have my favorites. What's yours? I know you have one too. What's your favorite quote?
You know, I've two. One I think you like as well. It's the Joan of Arc one. I am not afraid. I was born to do this.
Oh my God.
And I feel that.
Phenomenal women everywhere, really. Yeah. Rise up.
Rise up.
Don't be afraid.
And the other one is a Steve Jobs quote, which is particularly appropriate to me. And it says, if you are working on something exciting that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you.
I know.
Yeah.
So like, it's kind of, you're being led, you're being guided, it's just coming, it's being fed to you, you're delivering it, you're creating it, you're putting your stamp on it, you're marking it. And also just having that beautiful energy of your gorgeous son, that he's helping you from the other side, basically. And we really have to say these things. We need to get it out and say this, you know, that it's available to us, that Ryan is hugely instrumental in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And influencing everything that you do currently and that you will continue to do.
Yeah. And who would have ever believed that out of such grief would have come something so helpful to other people? And I get the most beautiful messages from people about how the words have touched them and comforts them. And that's what
Show
it's all
some
about.
of your products there, Linda. Let us see some of the things you have, please.
So the newest range that I have out at the minute is called Rainbows. And this is primarily geared around child bereavement. So where a child has lost somebody. And when Ryan died, Trey's the chaplain in Temple Street, said to me, Linda, every time you see a rainbow, it'll be Ryan coming to say hello to you. And even now, and my kids are adults now, every time they see a rainbow, they smile and say hi to Ryan. So what I want to do, this is an example of one of them. And I know it'll be back to front there, so I'll read it.
Do read it, yeah, please.
Yeah, so this one says, when I'm missing Mammy and a rainbow comes to sight, I know she's come to say hello and that I'll be all right. And I wrote this for my cousin's, she's now 4, she was 3 at the time, little girl. And her mum died just over 6 months ago. She was 36 years of age and she died from cancer. And this girl was just so full of life. So, you know, one of these people, and they say the good die young, but they crammed so much into that young life that most people don't put into a long life.
Yes.
And she was mad about Christmas and Halloween, and her favorite film was Peter Pan. And when they had their little girl, they called her Wendy.
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
And children are very good with metaphors. And this is what I wanted to do, that every time now in her life she sees a rainbow, that she smiles and says hi to her mammy. And I had a note, a message from another lady who bought one of the frames. So her son's dad had died, again, quite young. And she gave him the frame and he insisted it went into his bedroom so he could look at it. But he ran into her the other day and he says, Mammy, I'm after seeing Daddy. And she was like, what's going on? And she goes, what do you mean you've seen Daddy, Max? And the rainbow came out and it was Daddy coming to say hi to me. And I just thought, that's what it's all about, you know. That's what it's meant to do.
It so absolutely is. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's so heart touching, really. I mean, it's a very important work. I mean, it's a huge service. It's a wonderful contribution to society, Linda, you know. And I know you're getting massive success online, and Veritas and various other stockists are supplying your products and selling your products. And I know you have a big love for the little red robins. So have you got something like that nearby? What else did you want to share with us?
Well, that's one of the little red robins. There's 8 in that range. And this one says, sometimes I'll just arrive and you'll see me standing there. It's then you'll know I'm here for you to comfort, love and care. And so many people buy these. It's incredible. They have been my bestseller by far. And I know some of my stockists have said people have walked into the shop, start reading them and started to cry in the middle of the shop. I had one woman who had 7 daughters and she just lost her husband. And she walked in and bought 7 of them, one for each of her daughters, to remind them that their dad is close by to them. And with this range in particular, it seems that, and especially with COVID, with what's happening and people can't attend funerals and the whole lot, they're getting something like that for the person, that the person can keep, rather than a wreath or, you know, things that will die and fade. They're giving them something that will give them comfort forever.
And you mentioned COVID, and I have here the book that you are a co-author in, that you've authored your own chapter. So I have to say, I read it. It's beautiful, and your particular chapter is called "Why I Do What I Do." So I think you've explained that to us, and you've obviously given examples in that particular chapter of people that you've helped, customers that you've helped, some very sad cases over the COVID in the last year. I mean, can you believe we're 12 months since we started COVID? I'd love to ask you another question, Linda. So if you could sit down to dinner with somebody that you love and admire, who would it be?
Do you know what? I would genuinely love to sit down with a guy, and most of you aren't going to know his name when I say it, J.C. Hull. And J.C. Hull created Hallmark cards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I have every book that was ever written about that man. I have researched his life inside out, back to front. And you know what, like every business, he didn't always have it easy. Yes, he built something great, but he had his battles along the way, as we all do.
Is he still alive? I don't know him. So is he still alive?
No. Gone now. And the other person, and again, I don't know if many people would know her, is Mary Steiner Rice, or Helen Steiner Rice, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, she writes cards, right? Or at least
she used to, yeah. And when I was younger, I just loved her cards. I loved her cards. And so if I was buying something for somebody, and this was when I was younger, not when Ryan died, because they were gone at that stage, I used to always go for one of her cards.
Yeah.
And you know, she went through her own troubles as well. Like her husband committed suicide. And still she kept her faith and her belief, and she kept going with it. So they're two, and I know it's related to what I'm doing, but they're a great inspiration behind what
100%. I mean, I think absolutely anybody that could help, you know, and the beautiful thing, as you well know, if you ever wanted to have a conversation with either of those who've passed on to spirit world, you can invite them into your invisible mastermind. Now, I don't know if people that are listening to this at large would know what I'm referring to, but masterminding is something when you bring a number of heads together, a number of minds together. And in actual fact, we can do it with people who are deceased and who've passed on, loved ones, or people that would inspire us from the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
Ask them questions and, you know, get their advice, etc. So that is available to all of us. So do you believe right now, Linda, that this is your passion business? Do you believe you're on a mission with this? Do you feel it's your calling? Do you feel guided?
Look, without a doubt,
divine assignment is really what I want to ask.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's everything. And you know, I jump out of bed in the mornings. I can work 7 days a week. I can work from early morning to late night. It doesn't feel like work. And actually, my husband said there a while back, wouldn't it be great to win the lotto? We could just fly off here, there, and everywhere when this COVID thing is over. And I said to him, but I love what I'm doing. Like, I wouldn't give it up. It wouldn't matter how much money I had. I would not give this up.
Isn't it really, it's the ultimate, when your work is something that you're playing at and it's no longer work. It's just, and you obviously, I know that you gave up your other job that you had a number of months ago to completely immerse yourself in this, and things have been going really well for you.
Yeah, oh my God, incredible. And you know what, I had a huge order this week, huge. And I was non-stop making up frames and whatever. And Liam came in at one stage and he goes, my God, you must have a pain in your ass with that order at this stage. And I said to him, on the contrary, every frame I lift up, I am so thankful for it. I am so grateful for it. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, yeah, aren't you? You really are. And I said, absolutely.
It's so fantastic. I mean, I've watched you in the time that I've known you literally grow, blossom, and just, I've been privy to experiencing your beautiful gifts. I've sent some of them to people and they're absolutely magical. And you can feel the love, you can feel your energy in it. I mean, it's not just another card. There's so much involved. Linda, what I have another question to ask you. What is the book that you're reading at the moment, apart from your own
apart from my own one. It's actually this one, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And I bought this on the 25th of November, 2005.
Wow.
Yeah, but like a lot of my books, I will keep all of these books and keep referring back to them.
That's a nice cover. I have it, but it hasn't got that cover.
Yeah. Well,
nice one.
it's
That edition. Nice edition.
Like a lot of my books, like I'll have highlighted bits and underlined bits, and so I go back to them, and even if it's just a quick glance, I'll open something. Okay, what's highlighted there? Read a bit of that, and take something out of it.
Now that is a great way actually to read a book, isn't it? Because when you highlight it and then reread it, it has much more depth. Amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing. So look, what excites you most about the future?
The possibilities of what's to come. That we've such a big part in creating our own futures. And the visualization obviously has a lot to do with that, to create in your mind what you want. And then, because you've got to create in your mind before you get it in your hand, basically. Okay. And so there's so much possibilities out there. And you know what, like I'm 53 this year. I really want to make the next 20 years the best ever. Like really the best ever, and get everything out of me that I need, that I came to the world to do.
So you're on a mission.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're having this conversation, because it's people like you that excite me and that I love to link arms with, and that I want to really showcase on this show. So I'm so grateful, Linda. Have you any advice to anybody out there who's just teetering on, should I, move into doing something? Because I mean, you've left corporate, you've set up your own, your business has literally been thriving in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And when obviously a lot of people haven't got that same story to share, but the thing is, and I know you feel the same as I do, it's so important if we can just remind people out there to create their own circumstances and their own economy, because everybody has gifts. Everybody has gifts and talents. What would you say to somebody who's just fed up with being fed up and just afraid to come out and share with the world what they have inside their heart? What would you say?
You know what, I think, and I didn't learn this early enough. I think we all need to invest in ourselves, which is what I've done in the last year. And what that means, apart from doing all the work and whatever, is that you are surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And that's so important, especially if you don't have those people in your life already. The other thing, and I know I mentioned this before, I spent my whole life saving everybody else, and I never saved myself. And I really realized this during that 10-year period where I was being hockeyed out of it by creditors and everybody else. Nobody saved me. Like nobody saved me. And this year, in the last year, I've really gone on a mission to save myself. And that doesn't mean that I won't be kind or loving to other people, but not everybody's problems are mine. I used to try and take care of everything for everybody and abandon myself, which ultimately isn't good.
No, well, I'm delighted to hear that, number one. But I also think, the message could be for everybody listening, that it's our own life, it's our responsibility. And so it's important that other people learn that too, because if we're always trying to fix and we're always trying to be the fixer in other people's lives, we're not giving them a chance to grow. And I think until we have that awareness, then we will continue to do that at the cost to ourselves often. But as you've said, you are working on yourself. And because of that, you're recognizing, no, I need to take care of me. You absolutely do. And then by default, we're helping others. They may feel a little bit abandoned or put out perhaps, but in actual fact, we're giving people a gift.
Yeah.
To wake up and discover that they have got resilience, that they have got power, that they have got more inside of them. So I really see that, I've had to do it in my own life too. I really see that we're really ultimately giving people a gift.
Yeah.
Look, Linda, what can I say? It's just an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I'm sure everybody has been very touched. I'm sure there's been a few tears shed. And I think that you're just an amazing person, and I wish you every success going forward. It's an absolute pleasure for me to know you as a person. Keep doing what you do, and I've no doubt you're going to add to your collection. You're going to impact many, many lives, and I just love what you're creating. So thanks so much for sharing your beautiful story, your
Thank
painful
you.
story at times. And I think it's nothing but inspirational to those listening. So thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Linda Minto, and you'll find lots of things online. Linda Minto, it's an unusual surname. It's a great surname. Words that care. And well done for having an amazing friend and, you know, in your life that helped you all those years ago, 4 years ago, and fantastic. And you're doing it for so many others yourself. So what goes around comes around, and you're doing it in bucket loads. Thanks, everybody. Much appreciated. We'll end this call, and I'll see you next week for the next episode. So thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this show so that you will be notified when the next episode is released. And remember, keep believing you're amazing and you have so much to give. Now is your time.